Well, and the problem with coverage of guns, period, in the media, is you get the shiny keys, right? Look at this, and you get it from both sides. So you'll have the liberal media will come out, and you'll always see this statistic. They pull up Denmark, they pull up Australia, and they pull up England, and they say, look, with the except now Australia is a different animal altogether.
Because they banned guns recently.
Yeah. But when we look at England and Denmark, if we look at you put those two countries together, you don't even get the eastern seaboard. Yeah. And what has always irritated me about that argument, and I'm going to talk about the conservative argument about like something like swimming pools or cars or whatever. But what's always irritated me about that argument is that's great. England can do that. Denmark can do that because they don't have this history with the gun that we have in America and this mythology that we have here.
Oh yeah.
It's completely different. It's you can't compare it to that. On the flip side of that, this conservative mess that I always hear, and these are the ones that get on my nerves from the conservative side, is you'll be watching Fox News and you'll watch Hannity or Tucker or Laura Ingraham, and they bring up, that there are X amount of car deaths. Are you going to and the next question is, are you going to outlaw the car? Well, no. But if you take the regulations away from the car, those deaths go way up.
Yeah, we require people to wear seatbelts, which is car reform.
Yeah, car.
And when we first started
which is infringing on our Eighth Amendment. No, I'm kidding.
When we first started talking about wearing seatbelts and making them mandatory, people lost their minds.
They did. You're not going to invade my private life. You're not going to take away my First Amendment right. They brought up the First Amendment with that. I remember that.
Which has nothing to do with wearing a seatbelt.
No. It's to keep you alive.
And this is before we had 24-hour media as kind of a mainstay in American media. Yep. Can you imagine trying to pass that law now?
Yeah.
It wouldn't happen.
No. But I think what we see with the media when these things happen are those two dichotomies. And like I said, they're just shiny keys, because guess what runs, you were talking about Facebook, guess what runs on Facebook? Those statistics from Denmark and Australia and Great Britain on one side, and on the other side, statistics about car deaths, about knife murders, about, I brought up the swimming pool thing because the whole Dr. Phil gaffe over COVID.
I don't know this.
So apparently he goes on Fox News and he brought up this completely inflated number of pool-related deaths in America and said that it was greater than COVID. My favorite response was John Oliver's response, who said, if that many people are dying from pool-related deaths, I think we need to start looking at pools and looking at what they're doing with them. He said, but to be honest with you, it's irrelevant to this conversation because you're not going to go to the grocery store and have to worry about a pool sneaking around and drowning you.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, right. But it's a shiny key. It's look at this.
Yeah. The other argument that you'll hear, and I've heard people make on the left, and undoubtedly they're getting it from media, is that clearly, especially after an elementary school shooting, clearly people who are against gun reform don't care about children.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Because most of these people who are pro Second Amendment and don't want much gun reform have children and are deeply concerned about them.
And the vast majority of when you talk about sensible gun owners in America, they're training their children how to use guns the right way.
They are.
And I'm sure you grew up in the same kind of household I did, being from where you're from, where my stepdad sat my brother and I down and showed us how to use a gun.
Yeah, of course, there was no desire to own an assault rifle back then. That's a different world, but you're not wrong. I mean, I grew up in rural North Carolina on a farm where you needed to know how to shoot a shotgun.
Yeah.
As bizarre as it sounds to teach a blind kid how to shoot a shotgun, it was required because you never know when you're going to need to miss a target.
Well, and I'm sure, did you ever go to a turkey shoot?
I did, but I never shot.
We did too. I never shot at a turkey shoot.
It was a big deal for my family.
It was. And I think one of the things, when you talk about things like that, you can see, especially the ultra left, you can see the blood drain from their faces but what they don't realize is that for the communities that we grew up in, going to a turkey shoot is no different than going to a chicken stew. It's just a chicken stew doesn't have the guns.
That's right.
But you go to fellowship.
You do. But again, it was a different time, and the reason it was a different time is because we did not have 24-hour media telling us how to feel about guns.
Yes.
And now we do. Guns were never a divisive issue. Mm-hmm. We didn't think about them.
No.
It just never. I mean, I went to school with guys, and so did you, I'm sure, who had gun racks on their pickups.
Yes.
And had guns in their gun racks, sitting in the parking
22s.
lot, always, or 30-30s or 30-06 or something, in the parking lot at school.
Yeah.
And we just never considered it.
They weren't going to take them down in school hours. That was from when they went hunting with their dads.
I mean, to be fair, we did start having the conversation after.
Well, I mean,
after Columbine and the shooting in Pearl, Mississippi. Yeah. So there's an argument to be made that that's why we started having the conversation. And I'm not unwilling to say that's not true, but media made us feel a certain way about it, which meant that they had already precluded or already eliminated the possibility of having rational debate. Yeah. And you could make a claim. In fact, what is this whole segment called? What is this? These 3 or 4 episodes you're doing?
The hate machine.
Yeah, it's not called the thought machine.
No,
for a reason. Because they don't want you to think; they want you to feel. Because feeling is how. And you're reading the Taibbi book right now, and he talks about this.
Yep.
Right.
Hate Inc.
You've got to keep people angry because that's why they're going to stay tuned in.
That's how you sell. Yeah. You go after. Well, it's actually, I talked about this with one of my lectures. It's all about pathos. You establish your credibility. You use the logic to back up the credibility. And once you back up your credibility and you have their attention, you have their trust, then you manipulate them. Yeah. And once you get to the manipulation part, you can do whatever you want.
Well, you've already established your credibility.
Yeah.
At that point, I mean, it's
you've got their trust.
It's one of Aristotle's triangles here. That ethos, you establish your authority. Logos, you give the statistics. Pathos, after they trust you, you can make them feel whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
You have complete control over them.
Yep.
So I'd said on the left, you've got people saying, obviously, people on the right don't care about their children. Yeah. If they did, they would start doing gun reform. And on the right, people would say the left obviously don't care about their children. If they did, we would have guns in school. Yeah. They're making the exact same. They're using children as pawns in this argument, and neither side, sadly, is correct.
And the media is broadcasting it.
They are. Well, they're creating the conversation. It's not. That's the problem. Is no one's having the conversation until media creates it. Yeah. And they shape it in such a way that you never have the opportunity to make up your own mind. The bathroom bill. Yeah. I guarantee you that not one person. One straight person, let me be very clear, transgender people, this is something they would think about on a more regular basis. But most North Carolinians never thought about who went to the bathroom. Media made it happen.
Yeah. And that was actually a point that I made to my mother when she was fussing about the bathroom bill. And I asked her straight up, I said, "Mama, have you ever looked at someone in the restroom and thought they don't belong?" She said, "No." I said, "Then how do you know they've been in there?" Because more than likely, in all the public restrooms that she's gone to in this state, at some point, I guarantee you, I've been in a bathroom with a transgender and not known it.
Well, she didn't know she should care about it yet. And
That's
then politicians and media told her she should, and therefore it becomes an outrage.
And it becomes a political issue, and then they're able to target specific politicians. And that was going to be my next point. They're using these binary arguments to target specific politicians so that they don't get reelected. It has nothing to do with whether or not we actually have a gun in a school or not.
Or they support politicians who are on their side of the aisle by giving them these interviews that are designed to make the politician look really good.
And all they're doing is lip service.
That's all it is.
They don't actually give you anything substantial in these interviews, because you hear the same thing over and over. It's the same argument every time one of these massive things happen. They're talking on both sides. You can predict it. And I think Chuck Todd was the one after Las Vegas who on Meet the Press put up the timeline. He said, this is what's going to happen. And he laid it out point by point, saying we're going to be outraged by it. The right is going to counter that outrage with their own outrage. And then we're going to call for politicians to do something. The other politicians are going to push back. And then nothing will get done, and we'll forget about it.
Until the next one.
And he was right.